Hi, we are doing another fun guest interview today, and I'm really excited to have Erin Perkins on to talk about all things accessibility. This is a personal, special subject for me. My son has a lot of accessibility needs. It's something I've become really aware of as an adult, but something I think we should all be really aware of as people, but specifically as business owners. And today we're going to really be digging into accessibility from a marketing perspective of what we should be doing and maybe even why this is such a good and strategic thing for us business owners to be doing. So before we get too far in and before I start nerding out too much, Erin, would you like to introduce yourself and share a bit about what you do?
Sure. I'm Erin Perkins, and I am the founder of Maybe Q. And I have always been an accessibility educator. So what that means is really I've been teaching businesses about how to really incorporate accessibility into every aspect of their business. Because a lot of times people think, oh, accessibility, they're gonna think the physical side of things, like, wheelchair, curb cut, door button, caption, that kind of thing. But we need I was trying to shift it from the physical aspect and shift it into the digital narrative and telling people, accessibility really is something that you need to think about throughout your entire business, not just your website. We got to think about your business as a whole, including your hiring practices, your podcast, whether you're a guest or if you have a podcast, your event, like if you're hosting online event, social media, your branding, your email marketing, every single one of these need to really be considered accessible at every part. But the problem is people get overwhelmed. They're like, oh my gosh, I cannot remember all these rules. Well, let me tell you a little secret. I also can't remember all these rules, and this is my job. So, I am also the creator of Successible, and it was like Grammarly, but for spell check. So, that's a little bit about me. We'll talk a little bit more about what I'm building.
Yeah, well, thank you. I think you did a beautiful job there touching on all the different places within our work that we touch on accessibility, because really, anytime we're dealing with other people, we should be
Mm,
thinking about how they can access what we create.
right.
You started talking briefly about it's not just websites, but shall we talk about websites really quickly? Because I think that
Oh,
is the
100%.
first place people think of. So what should we be looking for on our websites to make them more
I mean,
accessible?
the number one thing is color contrast. Like you can't just rely on your eye. But here's like a favorite example. Like a lot of us use, like I use orange as part of my branding. And it's a kind of like a mid orange. And when I put it on white background, I can read it. It's not like 100% perfect, but I can read it. But the reality is, when I run it through the color contrast checker, it's not accessible. So, like, I have to be very mindful when I use that color. So, that's the thing. It's like people should not just rely on, oh, I can read this. This is accessible. No, you need to actually run it through the color contrast checker. That's like if you actually did that, your website accessibility would probably improve by like 25%.
Wow. And I think that's something so simple that most of us don't think of. I know I started my sort of work life as a designer and then as web designer, and I think we can so quickly trust what we think looks right, but we
Mm,
forget that not everybody looks the same. There was this wonderful tool that used to exist where you could almost audition websites through different visual disabilities and
yeah.
see what it looked like from other people's point of view. And that was so enlightening to me for people who have different color blindnesses or who have just different visual challenges. It sort of makes you go, oh, yes, of course. Like, of course they can't see that if that's not the way their eyes work. And I think that's such a good reminder for us to look at the color contrast as the first easy place to look. What else should we be looking for on our websites?
The other thing is alt text, making sure you
Mm,
add alt text. Because think about it, it's not just necessarily for screen readers, Like, ironically, I was on a website and for some reason the images weren't loading. And then I could see the information that they had put in about those images. And I was like, oh, okay. So I didn't feel like I was missing. If you put alt text in, it is good for people who use screen readers. It's also maybe for people who have low internet, like the
Mm-hmm.
internet is not running or they can't access it. So they're like, I don't want to see the picture because it's going to take up a lot of memory, that kind of thing. Those I feel like are two strongest points of your website.
I think that's such a good reminder. I think a lot of us can forget to add that, but it's such an important thing. As you said, lots of people lean on it, not just for the screen readers, but for
Yeah.
accessing the pictures too. I love that. Do we use alt text anywhere else other than websites, or is this like a website specific thing?
Email, because if you
Mm,
include picture, but the challenge is not all email platform have a space that include accessibility where you can add the alt text in. That is definitely a challenge.
mm,
Um, you like Instagram does provide you to be able to do that thread as well. So
mm.
like it's not just on your website. It is available in other places. It just had taken a lot of time to get the platform to be like, hey, you need to have a space for alt text.
And in some ways, I think we should be encouraging them to continue doing that work by putting the effort in to use the tools when they give them
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah.
So speaking of places like email and social media, what should we be looking for in terms of accessibility outside of our website as marketers, as business owners?
When we think about email,
Mm,
and you have to think about how someone might be consuming them, whether it's on their phone or if they are reading it on a desktop, or maybe because they're not big readers, they're actually
mm,
listening to it. So you want to make sure that your emails are easily readable. Like that is a big challenge, like formatting. And
mm-hmm,
there's other people that literally design the email all with pictures and there's
mm-hmm.
no alt text. And I'm just like, that doesn't work. Like, I understand you want beautiful emails and that I'm a designer first and foremost. That is like my background. So like I appreciate good design, but you have to really think about like if you are just putting in, you're designing the whole email and then you're dropping in add an image, how readable is that?
Yeah,
Like,
which defeats the purpose of a beautifully designed email in the first
like,
place.
like you're like, if people can't read that, then they can't consume it. So it's like trying to figure, like, making sure that you are structuring your email in a way that is readable and skimmable as
Mm,
well, right? Because not everybody can will just read through it. Like they want to catch the highlights of the email. Like I'm a person that like catching the highlights first.
mm.
And then I'll be like, all right, this is worth reading for me. Otherwise, I'm not going to read the whole email.
Fair enough. I'm dyslexic and I really need the shorter paragraphs. I need the bolding, the italics for my eyes to
Mm.
hold on to longer sentences. And it's something I notice in people's emails when they get into those big long paragraphs. I can't keep up. I can't hold my place in it. And I often just give up. And we don't want people giving up on our emails just because they can't read
Right.
them.
Yeah, and the other thing is like this is there have been some emails where people they'll just like have the text go all the way to the end.
Mm,
And I'm just like, oh, can we add some white space in there? White space is just good. It doesn't have to be little the white color, but
mm.
add some breathing room around these things and just like make it easier to visually kind of like look at and skim and be able to like catch a hold of the text because otherwise people are not going to read it.
Yeah, and I think that is a big difference when we've come from, our school educations about writing, or if people were academics or writers, we're taught to write these big, beautiful paragraphs with lots of detail. And marketing writing, I think, is very different. Copywriting or marketing in our emails, we're aiming for comprehension and people to actually consume the email much more than beautiful prose and artistic writing here.
I mean, like, if you want to write things, that's why we have the blog. That's why we have, like, step text. That's, like, save that while keep the email, like, a little bit crisp and shorter. Like, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, I love that we've talked about email. Social media you touched on. Are there other things? Obviously, I'm thinking we've got graphics in social media. Is there anything we should be thinking about otherwise in terms of our posts, the way we write in our social media content too?
Oh, this one is like a huge pet peeve of mine.
I love it.
So when I design stuff in Canva, I will do like testing my graphics all the time. It's not just images, like cool. But the problem is when people just put the graphic in, and then they don't include what's actually in the text in the caption.
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that? Because one, I can guarantee you half the time you can't read it because it's so small. Because when you're designing it on a big screen. So you're like, oh, this text looked a little too big. And then but you're not thinking about how it looks on your phone. And two, you probably didn't put in alt text. So put it in the caption so that like people who can't read the image, they can read the caption. But the problem is also they're not breaking up the text. I can't tell you how many times I get to the caption. I don't know why Instagram hasn't fixed this yet. Because like I would like to just hit enter or return and have an actual paragraph or something.
It doesn't seem that hard.
No, you would think. But like that's something that Meta needs to think about, like really help us break up our paragraphs easier. Otherwise, I break them up with periods just to make it a little easier to read because I hate those chunky paragraphs. But the fact of the matter is, if you have words in your graphic, you need to include those exact words in the caption.
I think that's such a good reminder. And I think that probably applies to everything. If we're running ads, if we're creating Pinterest pins, like anywhere we're creating these graphics, we should be thinking about including that text elsewhere so people who can't read the graphic can still read the text. Yeah. Speaking of text, what about podcasts? Because you mentioned that, and I think that's such a good opportunity to talk. I love hosting private podcasts. I have a private podcast summit that I run multiple times. What should we be doing to make those private podcasts and public podcasts more accessible for people who maybe can't consume just that podcast format?
So I am one of those people. I cannot consume podcasts. I've tried. And I also read a lot faster than, so like I prefer to read things rather than listen, but every now and then I'll watch a video if it's interesting. But my biggest pet peeve is I cannot find the transcript. And like I have a podcast open on my desktop and I'm like, I want to listen to it because there's actually a topic that applies to me. But I can't because I can't find the transcript on the desktop. So now I'm like, all right, so you mean I have to go to my phone? That's like so many steps for me to figure out. That's like that podcast. I feel like you have such a missed opportunity here with making it accessible in terms of reading. But my friend, like they all listen to music. I don't listen. I used to listen to music all the time, but I don't as much anymore. But when they listen to it, they'll like click on the lyrics and the lyrics will show up and it's awesome. And I'm like, oh, that's really nice. Why can't you do that the same for podcasts?
That would be so helpful. I would use that all the time.
I mean, I know you can do it on your phone, but the but here's the tricky part. Apple auto transcribes your podcast, which is great. However, if you are not listening to the actual podcast and you're just reading this transcript, which is what I do, you cannot distinguish between the speakers.
Interesting.
So it doesn't tell you speaker 1, speaker 2.
It's just a wall of text.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So I'm like, okay, so how am I supposed to tell who's speaking?
Yeah.
So that's the problem. That's why you shouldn't always rely on just letting Apple do it. You need to take the responsibility and have it transcribed yourself, making sure you're labeling the speaker with their name, not just speaker 1, speaker 2, their name. And then upload it. But also don't hide that transcript because I would like to just click on it and read it.
Yeah, that's something I've been really working on in my audio summits in particular. I always include the transcripts, but making sure it's really easy for people to find them too. So I've been including them in like every single email. I don't know how many people click them, but the few people who have been like, I love that this is here, because the people who need it really appreciate it. And I love that.
I remember
small step.
I remember the first time I saw someone do that. Dallas Travers. She had 3 buttons. She's like, you can listen to it, you can read it, or if you just want the show note. And I was like, oh, this is so nice.
That
just
is
click
nice.
on it and boom, done. Like that was like, you gotta give people a way to pick how they want to consume it. Yeah.
And I think particularly with content we're creating, even for a thing like an event that's ephemeral, that it goes away after a certain amount of time, we're still aiming for people to consume it. Again, that's that marketing lens we're looking through. We want to make sure people, and all people, can consume it, because people can be customers. People can be, potentially really helpful for your business. So why are we excluding a handful of people just
it seems like common sense, but like a lot of people really think about how they like to consume things, and they're not necessarily thinking about how others consume things in different ways. Like I know I can be different because like if it's a podcast, I'm like, just like let me read through the transcript and I'm done. But I'm also a huge blog reader. Like I would much rather read through a blog and give me the step-by-step in the blog. But there are other people that like the video with the step-by-step, which is totally fine. Sometimes I do need a video. So I think like it works both ways. But it's accommodating people at where and meeting them where they're at. And that's where I want people to think about. If you're creating a piece of content that is actually really good search engine optimization, repurpose that one piece of content into multiple different ways. That way you're not having to think about 10 different ideas. You have one idea, repurpose it, and it's accessible and it's great for SEO, all in one.
And I think that's such a good reminder that, yes, we do this because we want people to access things, but it's also good business. It's good business practice, just like you said, SEO, giving people multiple ways to discover your content and consume it. We want to increase the chances of that however we can. Like that's what we spend all this energy doing with our marketing in the first place. So I think that's such a smart reminder. What about video? We haven't really talked about video, but I think that is another big area we could look at accessibility from too.
I mean, for number one, is always include caption, and edit those captions. Like it doesn't have to be perfect, but like at least skim through it and make sure that the person's name is spelled right.
It's so terrible. I'll interrupt you for a sec because my last name in my accent gets translated to something very rude, and I don't want to be connected to my name. So I have to correct it every single time.
Like, like, and my name is always spelled the boy version. I'm like, no. Like, let's like put the actual good version name
Mhm.
of Erin, please. Like, that it's little stuff like that that is what I'm asking you to get 'em through,
Yeah.
because it will give you so much better content. And here's a fun fact. When I record stuff for Summit,
Mm.
I'm always including my own caption
Mm.
as like a provider for the Summit host, because one, I'm pretty sure they don't always like go through all the
Mm.
caption. I think they just like they'll caption it and that's it. But I always make sure I include them because I've already edited my caption, and I know everything is spelled correctly.
That's
It
a
might
good
I
tip.
might not get everything, but I know I spell it. So, and it takes a little burden off the Summit host as well. Now I
Mm.
know not everybody does that, and that's totally fine, but I feel like I hold a certain responsibility because I know my captions tend to be terrible. So I'm just like, let me just do this. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd go and check my name as well because I know that's a problem, but I might continue to pass that along to other people because who knows how many summits I've been in where they have my name in a big bold caption across the screen saying something terrible.
Yeah.
It's very worthwhile. I think this has been so interesting. So, with all these best practices and with all these things in mind, how can we help the average small and solo business owner actually do this work? Like, this sounds like great stuff, but how do we do it?
Yeah. That that was the problem. That's the problem I had as a business owner, because I was a service-based business owner.
Mm,
And last fall, summer fall,
mm,
I was actually working on a new website platform, new to me. And
mm,
I was just like, oh God, like I cannot remember all the accessibility rules. There
mm,
are a lot of rules, but at the same time, they're not. It's just like when you get into the habit, it's like no big deal. But the challenge is small business owners are already wearing 10, 20 different hats.
mm-hmm,
I know this. So I started like really thinking about like we need something that makes it easy. So I started tinkering around with AI, but I was like, oh my God, AI, you are not getting this right. And then I talked to a couple developers. The first person said no, which is fine. No problem. I hope you live with that for the rest of your life. The second person was like, hell yeah. And
Awesome.
basically, what happened was we have been building a tool called Successible. And the way it works is it works where you create. So if you are writing an email, it will, and you run the accessibility checker, it will check for now, as of 2026, early 2026, it will check your color contrast, whether your alt text is missing, if you have skipped heading level for websites, and whether your videos have caption. It's
Mm,
just checking those four because I feel like those are the four most missed things right now. But I have a lot more will coming. So literally, it is an accessibility checker that works exactly where you were, because I find that it's gonna take time, like give you your time back.
yeah.
It's gonna give you your money back because you are now sending out emails that are accessible. You are now making sure your website is accessible. You are making sure your course is
Mm,
accessible. Like those are the things that I feel like are invaluable.
yeah.
And like I'm really excited about it because it's actually launching in the beginning of March of this year, 2026.
So exciting. I love that you're like, I have a need and I'm gonna go make the solution for it. I think that's so
It
cool.
it took a little time, but,
Yeah.
like, that was my light bulb moment of, like, if I can't do this, why do I expect everybody else to do it?
Yeah.
So, that is, like, ultimately, I saw a problem, and and I wanted to create a solution for it. But the thing is, there are other accessibility checkers.
Mm-hmm.
There are color contrast checkers.
Yep.
There are heading checkers. But the difference between my tool and all these other tools is this is external. And most of those tools are created for developers and coders. I'm not creating it for them. I am creating this for the business owner that is creating marketing content. They're creating content for their audience. So that's what's really important for people to understand. You're not expected to know any coding. It will help guide you with like, hey, this is how you change it. Like, this is why you need to change it. It's just gonna like give everything to you in plain language.
I love
So
that.
you're not like having to be like, all right, alt text, like I have no idea what that means. What I will tell you in plain language.
I love that. I think that's such a helpful addition because, as you said, we're not just looking at our websites, and I could understand you do that once, but we're doing emails, which we send sometimes multiple times a week, and we're creating videos, and we're creating all these things, and there's nothing that's really helped us bridge the gap across all those different assets that we create. So I think this is genius.
Yeah.
We will pop a link below so that anybody who's watching can check it out and buy it. It should be ready by the time this video is out. And thank you so much for sharing all of this and for helping us explore different ways we can use accessibility in our marketing and how it is a really good marketing strategy. Anything you want to sign off with? Any last sort of reminders or words of wisdom for us?
I always say progress, not perfection, because that's really what it's about. Like, you're not going to get everything right on the first try, and that's totally okay because I know I didn't. And I have a background as a graphic designer. Accessibility wasn't taught, and I am a disabled person myself. So to me, it's like I have life experience, a lot of things, but when we talk about color contrast, I wasn't taught about that. I had to learn that for myself.
I love that. And I think that is so telling in our society, in the world at large, that if we're not teaching that to the people who create things and need it themselves, then, you know, what hope do the rest of us have? I think this is the hope. We can do something about it. And there are small, simple steps we can take to at least get better. And I think that's good advice for something that can maybe feel a bit overwhelming. Like, we just need to keep trying.
Yep, just keep trying. Progress over perfection.
I love it. So tell us where everyone can continue to learn from you, learn more about you. Obviously, I'll include all the links too in the show notes.
So they can go and find me at www.mabelyq.com and also on Instagram at Mabley_Q and Threads at the same place. I'm probably a little bit more active on Threads, but yeah, and that's where you can find me.